had a big debate this Christmas with my girlfriend about creatine. So we're in Cape Town in South Africa, and I went and bought creatine and I put it on the table and I was like, I'm going to start taking creatine, right? That's so me, not really knowing what it is or what it's for.
That's all right.
And she picked it up and then looked at the label and gave it back to me. And she said, creatine's not for women. And she felt, and I think a lot of people feel this is why I wanted to ask you it, is she thought creatine was for bodybuilders. And I Googled it and showed her the Google thing. And she went, oh, amazing. And she started taking creatine.
Yeah.
But I imagine there's a lot of people out there that think creatine is for people that want to just get stacked.
Great question. Sometimes you get deep in your own world and you forget, what the people are really thinking out of that world. So there's a website and a company called Examine.com. I have no affiliation with them, but it is an unbiased place that you can go to and you can ask that question for any supplement. You can ask about creatine, or you can ask about arginine, or Tongkat Ali, or whatever you want. You can also ask it by the adaptation. So what are the best supplements for fat loss, for brain function, for cardiovascular health? And it'll give you answers based on there. So it's a really phenomenal site. So when you ask, does it work? Well, work for what and work how much? That's the two questions, right? Work for what? So in the case of creatine, it improves, say, muscle strength. Probably why she had that muscle size. Okay, what's the weight of the evidence? Lots of studies, hundreds and hundreds of studies, men, women, young, old, children, all kinds of stuff, right? Astronauts, space flight, bed rest, tons and tons of research. Okay, check that box. What's the magnitude of effect? You're probably looking at somewhere between a 3 to 12%. Okay, that's a pretty good magnitude of effect for something that has an insanely good risk profile, meaning like you can't cause imbalances with it. It's not a hormone. It's not a mineral, so it's not causing oxidative stress anywhere. It's like really, really robust in there. And so when you look at it, you go, okay, great. Pretty easy choice here. It's not like the hormone stuff, like I said, where you're turning on something. It's a fuel source. So in fact, remember earlier when I said metabolism, you're either using carbohydrates or fat as a fuel. Actually, creatine is the third one. It's a faster one. So the stoichiometry is 1:1. So you can break down one molecule of phosphocreatine, gives you one molecule of ATP. It's the fastest one, but it gives you the lowest energetic output. Mm-hmm. So it's a fuel. And because of this, there is extensive research on performance-based things. This is where it started. In fact, I remember as a kid when the entire Balco and steroid thing hit baseball in the early 2000s, creatine was on that list. And that's where this entire association came, because Mark McGuire and Barry Bonds were using all of course, allegedly, whatever performance-enhancing drugs they were or not using. And they were also using things like creatine. And so that just kind of got lumped in as oh, it's a steroid. It's because it came from that world. And most of the evidence and most of the research was on that. Fortunately, the last 20 years, honestly, people have sort of left that with creatine because we know the answer there. More interesting stuff is coming in things like bone health. Now, my friend Darren Kando just finished a really great study, 2-year study on postmenopausal women at 20 grams a day. Typical dosage for creatine is 5 grams. So your typical bodybuilder at the gym is using 5 grams a day. He put this in postmenopausal women, 4x the dose, and did it for 2 years. No adverse effects. No kidney issues, no problems. Improved some of the bone markers, I think in the actual, the femur area. I don't remember exactly. It didn't improve others. It's not a miracle. It's not a panacea. But it was hey, it didn't do anything bad. Potential to help bone mineral density in a population that really needs it from just a simple fuel. It's kind of, rather than thinking about it like a mineral or a vitamin or a hormone, think of it more of protein powder. Mm-hmm. It's a nutrient that you get that fuels it. In addition, there's been at least 2 trials that I can think of off the top of my head that have shown that it may enhance things like mood. There's a ton of research on traumatic brain injury, long-term physical brain health. Because it is such a fast fuel source, it's actually a preferred fuel source in your brain. Your astrocytes, which are kind of like the central nervous system cells, thrive on creatine. So they absolutely love it. So it is neurological as well. So it'll help the neurological system, nervous system, as well as brain. And tons and tons of stuff going on. It is an antioxidant, has some mild antioxidant properties and a bunch of other stuff. So while I understand A lot of people still hear it and think of it as like the muscle thing. That's because that's where it came from and the dominant research. But really, I would encourage people to look at more the last 20 years, what people that are doing creatine research, the topics they're actually studying, and it's not muscle growth in young, healthy guys.